We are struggling with cognitive dissonance because we are out of alignment with what we believe. We think we're doing the right thing, but then it becomes about the external versus the internal.
All right, everyone. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you guys are at. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Succession, where our mission is to pay success forward. My name is Christopher Fu, and this podcast is brought to you guys by Maven Bridge Capital, a private wealth management company based out of Brea, California. Today, I'm with a guest that I'm super blessed to be sitting down with. I knew that when I started Succession, I was hopeful that she would be one of the guests on the show. We've actually known each other for a couple years and met through our passion for yoga. But just more recently, we actually found out that we both went to the same undergrad school and but didn't meet each other until obviously years later. She got her undergraduate from UC Riverside, her master's from UCLA, and got her doctorate from USC. She was a teacher, assistant principal, and now currently a principal for the last 5 years at a middle school. Again, my dear friend Dipali, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, again, I'm excited. Again, truly blessed that I'm sitting down with you today to be able to have you share your story, your journey, and just a bit about what you do and kind of what you see success as in your own eyes.
Thank you.
So, again, now being principal, I guess, what is it that you love about what you do?
First and foremost, it's young people, it's the kids. Um, they are at such an impressionable age, and being able to not only impact their lives, but the lives of a community. Um, and when I think about the work that we do, it's through the lens of a growth mindset. So you talked about the fact that we practiced yoga together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I think about that, I think life is a practice. And in order for us to be our best in life, it's just a constant growth process. And with growth, definitely comes some hurdles, trials, tribulations along the way. And so, what I hope to instill within the community is that we're on this journey together, that it is okay to make some mistakes along the way, so long as that we're learning from our mistakes and we're showing compassion to each other in relation to what that growth process looks like for us and for each individual that looks so different. And so obviously, I love working with students. I love working with my staff, with the community, but really through the lens of we are all a community of learners and we are all on this journey of kind of self-development. And then how do we do that as a community, just for the betterment of society in itself?
Nice. I love that. So, I mean, you mentioned something as far as that it's okay to make mistakes, and I think that's important because I think in today's world, most kids maybe just on social media and just things that they see that everything has to be perfect and can't make mistakes. How do you, I guess, pass that message along that it's okay, to make mistakes and that you learn from it?
Well, I'll start by saying when we opened up this podcast, I was stumbling on my words a little bit. And that's just, how life goes, right? So when it comes to social media, you're right. When you say things are portrayed to people as everything is perfect and all is well. And I think that I think even I have a social media account that I have open for my students. It's my school account that I have, and I allow myself to fumble with words on that and post up there so that people can see that there is a very authentic process. And I also think that it's just engaging in conversations again with young people to say, like, hey, it's okay to make mistakes. It's not mistakes that define you, it's what you do after the mistakes that allow you to develop on this journey. So, um, yeah, it's tough because society has made it so easy for people to be either perfectionists or to see that life is a certain way for a group of people based off of images. And that's not necessarily the truth. And I think that if we can promote a culture where we are allowing people to be true and authentic, then we can kind of stray away from that a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and also being in middle school, they're kind of right there in that, you know, they're growing, they're adolescent. That's the beginning phase of where they're coming into their own. Do you find that challenging at all? I don't know if you maybe, connect with other principals that are maybe in high school, in elementary, and just kind of seeing how things are different in the middle school.
I don't think it's all that different. I think it's really about a willingness to have open and healthy dialogue at any point, right? And having the mindset and the lens that, again, people are constantly developing. And even when, and I go back to this idea of mistakes, and that isn't the primary focus of this, obviously, but even our perception of people when they make mistakes is that it doesn't define who they are. Like, so can we have an open mind and an open heart um, on at any age that kids are at to say this is an opportunity rather than this is something that's negative about a person. And that's not even, I would go further to say, that's not even about just young people of school age. I would say that goes further to adulthood.
Yeah.
And do we give each other that grace?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. Now, did you always want to be a principal? Was that like a goal of yours once you went into school and you knew, okay, this is the path I want to take?
I knew that I wanted to go into education. I knew that I wanted to become a teacher. And I realized I grew up in South Orange County um, and had amazing parents. My mom actually, she worked at the high school that I graduated from.
Oh, great.
So I think pretty early on, I learned just the value of kind of that family atmosphere in the school setting.
Okay.
I started my career in Los Angeles Unified School District, and um, I wanted to be able to provide students in different areas, and this specifically urban area. Um, I wanted to provide students with the same opportunities that I was afforded, but I was afforded that based off of where I grew up.
Right.
And just thinking about equity and access for students that might not have the same opportunities for access that I had, I knew that I wanted to be able to impact change. So as a teacher, I was able to do that by, connecting with students through my content, my curriculum, teaching and learning, and then realized like, wow, I really would love to do this on a grander scale, to be able to create more of an impact in society. And that's not to say that it's a lesser of an impact as a teacher. Actually, I think teachers have the capacity to impact the most change. But I wanted to be able to be in a environment where I could not only love on the students, but also love on a staff. And I bring it back to something that I just said earlier. What that was, I was raised by amazing parents, and my parents raised me with this idea of unconditional love and supporting me through and through, despite where I might be or might have been. And that's kind of how I viewed education as well, right? Like if we create this this atmosphere of family, and we're here to all help each other develop as a community. I thought, wow, what a great place to be.
Yeah.
So I get to not only see that with the kids that I work with, but then I also get to see that with the staff as we grow together for the betterment of our kids.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm sure that's something that comes through as well, having that passion for, like you said, the community. Because, I agree. Yeah. The teachers are at the forefront in shaping the lives of young children, but obviously you and your staff also have an important role in that as well, in making sure that everyone's on the same page and, having the same message and looking at it from a family point of view. I love that because again, it makes everyone in the district or however it's set up um, feel more connected and more loved, and so that's a great thing that you're portraying and passing along.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, I think educators, I think, deserve, the highest, don't get paid enough at all. You guys do so much, especially for obviously the children. You guys shape the future of what these kids are going to be grown up to be as far as model citizens. For people that want to go into, say, teaching, right? We live in an economy right now where everything feels expensive and teachers don't, again, get paid enough, I don't think, for all the work that everyone does. What would you say for those that are maybe struggling, like if they want to go into teaching, but they're also looking at, I got student debt and things to worry about, what message would you pass on to them to say, hey, it's worth it?
Yeah. Teaching is not about, I think going into education is not about the money. It really is about, I would say, a care for humanity
Yeah.
and the desire to want to impact change or impact the lives of, again, students or young people. And I don't think that when you see the work come to fruition, I mean that's all the value you need. So I don't know. That was never a driving, like, the finances and the financial part was never a driving factor. It was really about a love for people.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. I think I wanted to bring that up because, again, in today's world with social media and everything, you see everything so grand and it's all about, or at least the posts that I see, it's all about money, 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 and it's just a byproduct of your work. But I think, like you said, doing something for a bigger cause, a bigger purpose to be able to make impact in kids' lives, that's why we do it. That's why you do it. And that's something that you can't put a price on.
Exactly.
So that's where,
You
again,
captured it a lot better than I did.
no, well, again, thank you guys for everything that you guys do. I mean, I was thinking about it this morning, actually, prior to our interview. And just, when I was in school, I really I wasn't the best student as far as grades. I did well, but I didn't really pay attention. And especially when I got to college, um, didn't pay attention as much as I hope now looking back, wish I did. But now I just love learning. Love learning and seeing how I can better myself and help other people. And I think it just comes full circle, those experiences and just the things that I was taught by mentors and different teachers and professors throughout the years. I think that's the other important part is, yeah, we're learning math, we're learning different things that we may never use in life, but there's other things that we learn by going to school that are just much more valuable that I think a lot of people don't realize until maybe later on in life.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more.
So, so now as far as being the principal, I mean, I'm sure there are, but difficulties on the job,
That is a
struggles?
great question. You know, Yeah, sure. There are definitely opportunities. I'd
Yeah.
like to frame it in a way where it is positive.
Yeah.
Um, I think at the end of the day, we all want to do what is right by everybody. We want to do right by our community at large, right? So including all stakeholders in that. And it's just really understanding that you're bringing people along the way in a journey again. Um, I talk about, when I mentioned earlier, um, well, I don't know if I actually mentioned this earlier, but I have this belief that, we are the same person that we were when we were like 4, 5, 8, 15, 25 years old, right? So, like, when you think about that, you have to understand that everybody comes from a different walk of life and has different experiences. And so, I think in my role, what's the most important is trying to understand who people are so that we can come together for this common vision and purpose in supporting students, because there is no right or wrong way. Well, sure, there might be some more research-based ways in when it comes to education, but um, it's just really being cognizant and mindful of that everybody has different experiences, and and that also things are constantly evolving.
Hmm.
And so we constantly have to be keeping up with new ways and methods of doing things, because what we might have done in the past might have served us at one point,
Right.
but not maybe where we currently are at in society. Like you talked about social media. Social media isn't something that you and I were exposed to in our elementary, middle, and high school
Right.
years. So, how do we change our ways of presenting things to students so that they are, so it's, so it's tangible for them? And that involves a lot of, professional development and learning side by side each other, and also acknowledging that people have different experiences and how can we use their experiences as strengths, but then still build upon them.
Okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, like you said, especially in today's world, you always have to be adapting. And I think in today's world, especially, things are just changing so fast at a much faster pace when you and I were younger, especially from the technology standpoint.
Like TikTok? What's TikTok?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't imagine how difficult it is for teachers and staff, everyone in school to try and get everyone's focus when the kids have, the cell phone right there. I can't imagine how I would pay attention if I always had my cell phone right next to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you said, it's just how to maybe implement that, I guess, in a way where it's still useful and
Mm-hmm.
beneficial for the children is
Yes.
the task at hand.
Yeah. Things are always moving. There's a moving target.
Yeah. Now, on your personal journey, getting to where you wanted to be, you mentioned your family, your parents. Were they probably your mentors growing up? Were they your inspiration for doing all of this? What was that like?
Yeah, I would say that, my parents are just really incredible people with huge hearts, and they definitely shaped me and my core values. So, definitely, my family guided me. But I think one of the things that I learned from my mom and dad pretty early on is that you can always learn something from literally anybody. And so, listen, because everybody has something to contribute that will allow for you to grow. So I think that has really helped a lot, and it has helped me build really strong relationships with people along the way, both within the education field and outside. Is that I'm willing to ask questions. I'm I'm willing to be vulnerable to say, I don't understand something, or I need to understand something better, and to be able to lean in and ask other people what their experiences might have been to, help me be better. And I think that that's important, to have a strong, to have strong values of your own, but still willing to be vulnerable enough to ask others for support or things that you might not know along the way, and know that everybody has something to teach.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's so important to that you shared that, because again, to be vulnerable is, I think, something that most people shy away from because it's looks like a sign of weakness, right? But I think it's very important to be vulnerable, and especially to be willing to ask for help when you don't know something, because I agree, that's how you learn.
Yeah. And vulnerability actually, I feel like is like the deepest strength, right? Like to be able to expose yourself. And the truth is, you might even have knowledge about that particular topic, but you need to be able to hear somebody else's perspective, because it's healthy to have different perspectives on things, right?
Yeah.
It allows for expansion in thought. So I'm a I'm a huge fan of vulnerability, and Brene Brown is somebody that I look at when I need that extra, like that's important. I think it's also though important to learn and be grounded in some of your own, like I said, own core values and philosophies, but also be open-minded enough to be able to shift thoughts along the way.
Yeah, yeah, I think you touched on a very important point as far as also being open to shift, because again, you have certain core values, but as you're talking to people, you're expanding your knowledge, and that's why I love connecting with people, because I'm connecting with so many different people each and every day that we necessarily don't always share the same values, but that doesn't mean that we can't be cordial and friends,
Mm-hmm.
and learn from each other. So I think you mentioned something so beautifully, that again, having that open mind and to be able to make adjustments so that we can keep growing and be better people and better society is very, very important.
Yeah. You capture things so well, Chris.
And I'm just reiterating everything exactly that you just said. So no, I just, when this whole podcast, right, is about success and paying success forward. And in the first episode, I talk about that I don't view success as having the big house, the fancy cars, and nice watches. Those are certainly the byproduct, I think, of success. But I think for me, success is how can you learn from people,
Mm-hmm.
right? How do you, if you do see someone that you admire, right? How can you learn from them, or how did they get to that point?
Mm-hmm.
And I think just again, hearing that, talking to people and listening is super, super key in order to become successful or become whatever version you want to be. Because I always think that there's always someone out there that knows a lot more than I do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always trying to open my heart to people and learning from them, and seeing people that, I admire, and how can I be that? How can I be the person I want to be down the road? So everything that we just said, I think, just sums that all up.
Yeah. Love it.
So where do you see yourself in 10, 15 years? Do you see yourself still as a principal, or?
I don't know right now. Yeah, I'm not, I love working with kids. I'll tell you, like, some of the best parts of my day really do involve saying things like good morning to students and asking them, how are you doing? And, um, and then hearing them ask the question back, how are you doing? So I don't know, because 10 years ago, I didn't think that I would be where I'm at now. And I think one of the things that I'm really trying to focus on is being present. I think, I think maybe in, you know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I might have been thinking about what next, what next, what next.
Yeah.
And I think at some point, I turning inward, I have to ask myself, why? You know, why do I keep doing that? And so I think for now, it's just being present and thankful for where I am and thankful for being afforded the opportunities that I've been afforded. And that's that, you know, because I think wherever I am 10 years from now, hopefully I'll still have the mindset of developing as a human, being on this journey. And if I'm still a principal, I'm sure I'll have a lot to learn 10 years from now.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I mean, you're in the field of education, so you're always, I mean, I see books all over the place. So you're I know that you're constantly filling your mind, with knowledge and everything. So I don't doubt in 10 years that you'll still be doing the same thing. But yeah, I mean, I love what you said as far as focusing inward. I think a lot of us probably really had to do that in these last couple years with COVID and being isolated and at home. I know for me, it's changed a lot in that regards too. And that's where, man, yoga really helps
Yeah.
and meditation.
Yeah.
But I think it's important, like you said, to just to be present because yeah, sometimes we always are thinking what's next, and without really slowing down and saying, okay, let's just enjoy it a little bit.
Yeah. Because if I appreciate you saying that because if I think, you know, very honestly with myself, if I thought what next and I don't and still like I think it's great to have ambition and
Yeah.
to have goals. Um but it takes away a little bit of the joy of where I'm currently at. So I think about this intention that I created this year for myself, and it's to live a life of joy, fulfillment, and purpose.
Nice. Okay, I love that. Can you expand?
Yeah. So, yeah, I think COVID really illuminated a lot,
Hmm.
right? Like it was important to have to turn inward and ask ourselves some tough
Oh yeah.
questions while we were isolated.
Yeah.
Or, you know, yeah, you had to ask yourself some really tough questions. And for me, um, while I experience a lot of joy in life, I want to be able to maximize on it. And I think COVID also brought forth a lot of sadness and
Hmm.
grief. Um,
Yeah.
and it forced us to maybe slow down a bit. And I think out of that slowing down might have come some grief, right?
Hmm.
So now that things are slowly starting to open up, it's like, let me appreciate that.
Yeah.
Let me appreciate the fact that you're sitting less than 6 feet away from me as we're talking,
You're right. Yeah, exactly.
because that might have been very, very scary, you know,
Yeah.
2 years ago. Actually, 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly 2 years ago.
So, like, let me celebrate the fact that I can wear a lipstick now.
Yeah.
Sounds small, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, just simple things like that. I just want to be able to find joy, fulfillment, and purpose out of the relationships that I currently have, the work that I'm currently doing, and the ability to have experiences.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us also probably are on that same journey or same desire for that. I think especially because of COVID, unfortunately, a lot of people lost loved ones from it, and it just, like I said, made us turn inward and see, okay, what's really important and what are things that maybe are not as important that I thought were important
Yes.
before. So I think it's a good thing that, that it allows people to slow down a little bit in this fast world that we're continue to move in.
Totally.
Yeah.
Again, Chris, you captured that so well.
Well, you shared one of your intentions was purpose. So I'm a big fan of why, right? And you mentioned that earlier as well, asking, what is your why? And that's something that I mention a lot. What is a financial why for my clients? What would you say right now is your why or your purpose in what you do?
I think it really just boils down to I want the space that we occupy with each other to be kind, more compassionate, um, again, showing each other more grace and empathy. And that's just it. Like, how do we develop those soft skills that are actually really hard?
Yeah.
you know and I think that's why the work that we do, especially in education, is so important. It's like, what is your impact and what's the impact of the decisions that you are making, right?
Yeah.
And so I just want us to be able to love each other more. We've seen so much happen as a result of COVID. We've seen, fractions and um, but I think ultimately it boils down to like love
Yeah.
and caring about each other more. And that's really what I would like to see.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's definitely something I think that I would love to see, and we need a lot more of. And I think that's also just that vulnerability of sharing that with people. I think today a lot of people don't want to be as vulnerable and share that. We need that, even though deep down inside they want that too.
Yeah.
So I think that's important to pass that on, and I think that's a great purpose
Mm-hmm.
to have.
Thank you.
Now, what do you think the Dipali 20 years from now would tell you today?
What will I tell 20 years from now? Um, Gosh, that is such a good question. I think that I think it really does go back to this idea of, you know, just be you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, be you, do your best. I think the quote by Maya Angelou is do the best until you, or do the best. What is it? Do the best until you know better. And once you know better, do better.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Um, just keep striving to do your best. And I don't mean like perfectionist best, but like just do your best and know that your best is good enough.
Yeah,
Um, don't compare yourself to other people.
I think that's important. Yeah.
Your journey and your path is so different from other people's path. Um, and you are where you're supposed to be.
I love that last one. Yeah, you are where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. Because I think that goes back to the last one that I said just prior to that, but we're always it's so easy to compare
Hmm.
to because it's so accessible to compare, but like you're good.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I love that last one, especially again, because I think a lot of times, when we're looking at life today, it's like, oh gosh, why am I here? Or, why is my life like this? And as difficult as it is, and I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason. Um, but yeah, I think that's why that resonates so much with me. It's just those difficult times. It's not always going to be like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you need that in order to be in a better place later
And
on down the road.
and I would say one more thing.
Yeah.
Um, Difficult times. I think it's important for people to sit with difficult emotions.
Mm.
I think so often we get busy in the grind, or we mask our emotions by filling up time, doing other things. But I think that if we feel a certain way or we are enduring certain challenges, to sit with it so that you can experience the feelings that come with the difficulties, so that hopefully if difficult times come up again, you know better how to navigate them. And I think that also allows for more spaces of openness and vulnerability and being able to show empathy to other people because you have given yourself the space and grace to be able to experience whatever it is you need to experience.
That's beautiful. No, I love that. I'm glad that you shared that because I think, again, just difficulty is important. And, we do try to mask it all too much and set it aside, but not letting it stew for a little bit, I think is hurting,
Yeah.
more than helping. So thank you for sharing that because I think that's something that we need in order to keep going. Because at some point you hit a barrier and you don't know why.
Yeah.
So it's important to feel all aspects of things.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you. So, I mean, you have a lot of knowledge. I mean, I know your parents,
I don't know about all that, but
your parents obviously instilled a lot in you. Is there anyone besides your parents that you say you also admire or a role model or mentor?
Chris, I have to be honest, there's so many people.
Yeah.
And again, I think that just goes back to there's something that you can learn from everybody. There are so many people that I've either crossed paths with or are still play a significant part of my life, that I look up to. All of my girlfriends, I call them my sisters.
Yeah.
My brother, people that I work with, the students. The students are the most honest.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
So I really look up to them because they are so resilient, right? So really, it's not like a single person, but it's many people along the way that have just had a positive impact on me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the students. I mean, Gen Z, they're my niece, she's a Gen Zer and she's approaching middle school soon, but I love their honesty.
Oh,
They're
they
so
will let you know, and it's beautiful
I
though,
know
right?
it's beautiful, their honesty. They're not afraid to speak their mind. I was just thinking, man, when I was a kid, I was afraid to do anything like that, but I love that she speaks her mind and
Speak truth to power.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, it's gonna be fun to see, when they become adults, because I think they're gonna be a strong group.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, they will be a powerful group. And that's great. I mean, we
Yeah,
should be empowering people to use their voices, to
yeah.
amplify voices.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. That's why every time she's over, I just, I love it because she's not afraid to hold back,
Yeah.
you know, and speak her mind. So that we need that,
Yep.
you know.
True story.
So that's awesome. That's awesome. Now, if you weren't a principal, is there anything that you would do, an occupation that you would do if you were not doing this that you would want?
Um I can't see myself doing anything really other than education, but I think any type of, working with people, developing as humans, that's really what I feel like my true passion is, and I think that lends itself perfectly in education, right?
Yeah.
But really, just how do we create a community, society, world that is kind to each other? It's just so much more. How can we demonstrate love and kindness to each other, and how do we learn together?
Yeah. Yeah. So no matter what, it's always going to be about that. That's the
People.
important thing. Yeah.
Yeah, people, relationships, community building, like, and that's what I have a love for, because I have a genuine love for people.
Yeah. That's amazing. And I think that's so important to have that, especially in, in your role, and as an educator too, to have love for people, because
Hmm.
it's a tough job, and you have to have, like you said, that passion for making a difference in people's lives. So again, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Last couple questions here. I know you shared a lot as far as, different mantras and quotes, but any in particular as far as, life motto that you go by? Any favorite quote of yours? I'm a quote guy, so I love
Oh
quotes.
gosh. Yeah, I really do think that the Maya Angelou one that I messed up and stumbled on earlier is probably one of my favorites. I think if we have this, and the reason being is if we have this mindset that like everybody is doing their best, and once they learn more, then they will do more, it just allows for us to have so much more compassion for each other. So it allows for the individual to have an opportunity to grow, but it gives people from the outside that are looking at others and maybe making judgment. It just teaches them to have grace, because you're allowing yourself to have grace through that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's just giving permission
Yeah.
and holding space for others.
Yeah. No, that's great. So I know the last question you're probably the pro at,
I don't know
being in your
about
position,
that.
but any advice you can give to people, for listeners who maybe, not sure as far as where they're at in life, and they're questioning, their next step in life, their path. Um, I'm sure it's a lot of things that you talk to your kids about too, when talking them through education and inspiring them that way. Anything that you can lend as far as tips for people?
Yeah, sure. There would be a couple of things that I'm thinking of. You don't have to be in an absolute hurry. Um, Take your time to really think about what it is that you want to do with yourself, for yourself. Um, I'd also say don't walk away when things get hard.
Yeah.
It's okay to work through it. Again, I think that goes back to what I had said earlier about, masking or band aids or whatever. It's
Yeah.
like, no, sit with it and work through it. Um, and again, it's like, do your best, but give yourself permission to fall and take care of the self. Oh my goodness. Actually, that's probably what I would say. 20 year if I was 20 years older, what advice would I
Yeah.
give? Take care of your mind, body, and soul, and be in alignment.
Yeah.
I think that is something. So be strong in your values and make sure that what you're saying and what you're embodying is truly what you believe.
I love it, especially the last part. Like you said, truly what you believe, not what you think other people want you to think, but truly what
Hmm.
you believe. I think is important. Um,
I think most of the difficulties that we have, I don't want to say most, but some of the difficulties at least that we have is when we are out of alignment with ourselves.
yeah. Yeah.
Like we are struggling with cognitive dissonance because we are out of alignment with what we believe. We think we're doing the right thing, but then it becomes about the external versus the internal.
Right. Yeah, and I think that goes back to your turning inward is just so much more important, because it's probably 99% of the time we're always focused on the external
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to the internal, but without the internal, external is nothing.
Yeah.
So, So thank you again, Dipali, for sharing all of that, sharing that knowledge, that wisdom, and sharing your story with us today. I really appreciate it.
Your questions were absolutely incredible, thought provoking, I think.
Great.
Made me turn inwards. And I just have to say, I've always appreciated your heart
Oh, oh,
because you are such a kind human and felt that immediately from our yoga classes together.
oh,
So thank you.
oh, thank you so much. Well, I'm glad again that we were able to connect to you through yoga, if not through university years
Yes.
ago.
Yes.
So yeah, really, really glad to have met you at that time and, stay friends this whole
Yes.
time. So again, thank you to Polly. Again, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Succession, where our mission is to pay success forward. Wherever you guys are at, good morning, good afternoon, good night. Thank you. If you guys found this episode of Succession helpful for yourself, or maybe you're thinking of someone that could maybe benefit from hearing it as well, please don't forget to pass it on. The whole point of Succession, and also with success itself, I think we find it more gratifying, especially if we can help others. So again, if you find someone that can benefit from listening, let them know, hey, check this episode out. I think you'll love it. And that's the best way that we can continue to pay success forward. Now, to learn more information about Maven Bridge Capital, please go ahead and visit our website at mavenbridgecapital.com. That's MAVEN Bridge Capital, CAPITAL.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. Please be sure to check us out, leave comments. We're also continuing to improve and build our firm. So any questions that we can also help you with from a financial advice standpoint, we love to do that as well. Other than that, again, I hope you guys have a great day, and I look forward to speaking to you all again very soon. Thank you so much.